Hello, Steve St. Angelo from the SRS Rock Report with a new important public YouTube video. I'm going to discuss a very interesting subject matter going around the precious metal community. I want to talk about if silver hits 300, can the market deal with it? I'm actually revisiting this subject uh, because when I talk about the market, I'm talking about the US retail bullion market. That's what I'm talking about. Also, what's happening in the silver market. Now, I'm revisiting this because a few weeks ago, I put a YouTube video out. What happens with 300 to 500 silver prices? How would massive silver prices impact the precious metal dealer industry? I don't believe we're going to see these huge prices, but Michael Oliver does. He's been talking about 300 to 500 silver. We're going to see that by the end of this summer. And so it's gone around. He's done interviews. It's gone. It's on social media. A lot of precious metal dealers are picking it up. So I know this because when I talk to dealers, clients are calling dealers up and say, do you hear this? A lot of people are all worked up because they're hearing about much higher silver prices. A lot of people are looking to sell, not buy at much higher silver prices. And I believe that's could be very problematic for the US precious metal dealer industry. Now, what's interesting, just yesterday, Liberty Finance, Dunnigan Kaiser, interviewed Miles Franklin's Andy Scheckman, and he talked about would 300 silver crush the retail industry. So let's hear what he has to say.
And what would be the impacts on dealers, large and small, as well as the exchanges and refiners? If we did see $300 to $500 silver in the next year, for example, where would the system be strained, or would it actually be the beginning of the end of the precious metals industry functioning the way we are currently used to it functioning?
So Steve St. Angelo wrote a report. You were kind enough to send it to me. I've been a fan of Steve's work for a long time. He's a smart guy. I agree with what he said. His take on what happened with the market was accurate. But I think when he takes it and moves it forward, he's kind of missing one very important point. What he spoke of was the environment we saw, where you had rising margin rates, you had a massively escalating price, and you had what I would argue is more selling on the retail side than buying.
Yeah. Now, not only do we have more selling, we had considerably more selling. We had a massive amount of selling. And as you've heard, local dealers were just shutting their doors. And a lot of online dealers, they were really dropping their prices considerably on the bid side. You were getting a much lower price. Also, it took some people 4 to 6 weeks to get their cash. Now, this was only at 120. Now, we didn't stay at 120. Most of the selling was like 80 to 100 or lower. And so if we get to 300 silver, where is the cash going to come from? From the dealers to pay people who are going to be selling. So this is one thing to understand. Now, what I believe the difference now, what Andy said is going forward. I do believe in the future, there will be a market for much higher silver prices. There will be more buyers. Now, from the end of 2025 into currently, there have been more sellers, a lot more sellers. We just haven't, and unfortunately, there's been a lot of stockpiling of a lot of secondary product in the wholesalers and dealers. They have a lot of this product because there still isn't buying back. So I believe if we saw much higher silver prices by the end of the summer, it would just be more selling. And they don't, how do you get cash now when you were paying $80 or $100 an ounce? Now you've got to be paying $200, $300, $400 an ounce. Where are the wholesalers and dealers going to come up with that much cash? So I think this is the reason why I don't think we're going to see much higher silver prices this soon. But to let you understand what's going on in the silver market, I want to show you, this is the most recent update from the US Mint. Interestingly, 0 silver eagles were sold in May. Only 2,000 gold eagle ounces were sold. Very, very little. And I know what's happening here. There's so much secondary silver eagles right now. People are buying secondary silver eagles. There's no real market for the brand new 2026. And so, and I think this will continue if we had much higher silver prices. Lower prices, we would get more buying. Now, if we go back to 2025, the same period, January through May, we could see there was 775,000 ounces sold, 7,500 ounces of gold eagles were sold. Go back to 24. Look at that, 1.7 million ounces of silver eagles were sold in May, 26,500 ounces of gold eagles. Look at 23, 1.6 million ounces of silver eagles were sold in May, 85,500 ounces of gold. And if we go back to 2015, the US Mint sold 47 million of silver eagles. Now, this is the issue right now. So again, zero sales for May, which suggests to me there isn't a lot of demand for silver. Now, if we look at the long chart, this is total US gold, silver eagle sales, 1986 to 2025. If you look at the right side, look at 2025, 11.8 million ounces were sold in 2025. Half, less than half what was in 2024. You've got to go all the way to 2007 when it was lower. So that just goes to show you how few silver eagle sales, and it's actually worse in 2026. Now, what people need to realize, and I still think there's a lot of people in the precious metal community that don't understand, Americans are the largest investors of silver in the world. More than India and much more than China. China buys a lot of gold. They don't buy a lot of silver. And what you can see in the highlighted yellow, this is from the World Silver Survey, the 2026 World Silver Survey, that Americans purchased 101 million ounces of silver, physical bars and coins in 2016. Then it declined. Then look after the pandemic, 138.2 million in 2021. And then it declined again. And it's only 35 million ounces. That was what it was last year in 2025. And if you look at those two red squares, what's interesting in 2021, Americans purchased a record amount of silver. Now look at the Indian demand. It was only 27.6 million. That's about 6 times less, a little less than 6 times less than in the United States. Look at 2025. Indians were buying more. Americans were buying less. It was actually due to more selling, especially towards the end of 2025. Now, this data comes from Metals Focus, Silver Institute, and the World Silver Surveys. This shows total US physical silver bullion investment from 2010 to 2025. Now, after the 2008 financial crisis, a lot of people were buying silver. We could see in 2013, 122 million ounces were purchased, 125 million ounces in 2015. And that was the year the US Silver Eagle sailed was 47 million. But all of a sudden, in 16 and 17, especially 17, 18, and 19, it declined. And it didn't pick up again till after the pandemic shutdown because a lot of people were worried about shortages. And then we saw a huge increase in inflation. So people were worried about inflation. There was 138 million in 2021, 136 million in 2022. And then look at 25, only 35 million ounces of total US physical investment. And if we look at it all together, and you see, this is an important chart because this is what I want to talk about. This is, again, total US silver bullion investment from 2010 to 2025. The total is 1.521 billion ounces. And at $73, that's $111 billion dollars. Now, people were buying silver, especially a lot of people were buying junk silver. There's still a lot of junk silver out there. And you have to remember, junk silver is a pretty good barometer of the health of the silver market. I'll talk about that too. But again, 1.5 billion ounces of silver that Americans own right now. And some people are holding on to it. Some people are retiring and selling their silver because they need to buy things. And what's the use of buying gold and silver? At some point in time, you sell it because that's what silver and gold are good for. They're a store of value due to inflation, oil price inflation, fiat price inflation. So at some point in time, people are going to be selling. So I think there's a lot of senior citizens who are retiring and they want to sell. So if we get much higher silver prices, we're going to see a lot more selling. And I don't think we have the buying. Now, this is important to understand because it seems like a lot of buying happens when silver prices are low and very close to the cost of production. This is Pan American Silver's total estimated cost in the red area, and then the silver profit margin in the blue. Look at that first quarter 2026 profit margin, almost $50. And that was at like $88. Now the price of silver is at 73. That profit margin has declined. But if you look at 2021, 22, and 23, that's when we had a lot of record US silver buying. People were buying silver at very low prices, very close to the cost of production. Even back in 2015, very low to the cost of production. But in the end of 2025 and into the first quarter of 2026, people were selling. People are savvy. They tend to buy low and sell high. Unfortunately, FOMO, fear of missing out, and there was a lot of that at the end of 2025 due to China supposedly shutting down their exports and then, I mean, Indians were buying a lot of silver. We saw a lot of silver move into the Indian silver ETFs, but that has declined. That hit a peak in February, and that's been coming down now for the last 3 months. So it looks like people are taking profits. But again, people tend to buy more at lows and sell more at highs. And we could see this in this chart. Basically, this is the silver monthly chart. And what I've done is shown US physical silver investment demand. This is in million ounces in the blue bars. It was only 48 million ounces in 2019. Again, for those 3 years, from 2017, 2018, 2019, when silver hit a high in 2011, 12, and then started to decline, people were buying due to the 2008 financial crisis. And then when it went down further in 2015, there's still a lot of buying. But then as the price stayed there, didn't really move, demand fell. And that's the problem. You have to have volatile prices to get either more selling or buying. So if we look at the close-up again, after the pandemic in 2021, we hit that record 138, but then it's been declining and it hasn't been off a cliff. We could see in 2024, it was already almost half of what it was in 2022. And then look at 2025, 35 million ounces only. So this is what it comes down to. Right now, according to my analysis, and I'm going to have to wait until the second quarter comes out, the silver miners, the costs are getting closer to 40, in the high 30s. But again, I have to wait until the second quarter comes out. And so look how high the silver price is above the cost of production. So we just need to keep that in mind. Now, with the Middle East crisis, and I think we're going to see much higher oil prices. I think that's baked into the cake. We're going to see much higher oil prices going forward. This could impact inflation. So we could see another run up in silver in the second half of the year. I don't have a crystal ball, but if that does happen, I do believe we're going to see more people selling than buying. So this, again, could be problematic for the precious metal dealer industry if that happens. So I say that because junk silver is typically the barometer of the precious metal silver market. And right now, SD Bullion is paying $21 under spot to clients to buy back their junk silver. I think JM Bullion is closer to 23. Why are these dealers charging so much a lower price? Because I know some dealers who are buying back silver, junk silver, at $8 or $10 under spot. And they deal with the same wholesalers. So why are some of the large online dealers still showing such a low discount to the spot price for junk silver? So that to me is a red flag. If we saw silver prices going up much higher, this discount would get much worse. Now, Andy Schechtman had mentioned in his interview, in his idea about what's going to happen with 300 silver, that in the next go around, we're not going to have that problem. He doesn't think we're going to have that problem. You see, I disagree. If we had 300 silver, even if we had 150, I think would be very problematic due to the same issues. There would be a lot more selling of silver And then instead of the dealers having to pay clients 80 or 100, they're going to have to pay 120, 150. They have to come up with that cash. And as you know, Americans hold on to a lot of silver. So I think in the future, it's important to hold your silver due to what I believe is going to be much higher silver prices in the future. But if we get these price spikes very quickly, it could be very problematic because the silver market is buying and selling. And the fundamentals, I see much higher silver prices when the fundamentals dictate it. And the fundamentals will be when more of the 99.5% start buying silver. So there's a market for this silver that's coming back in. So I look forward to your comments and questions in the comments section. Thank you.